Welcome to Youth Diversion's webinar on pornography and its impact on children and teens. My name is Joanna Conrad, and today we will be covering the signs and the risks and how you as a parent can help your child. I had no idea that my 10-year-old at the time had discovered porn online. My son is 12 now, and during the last 2 years, it has become similar to using substances. He will go to any level to sneak a computer, cell phone, laptop, streaming box, or pay-per-view to watch porn. We have rules set up, and he sees an addictions counselor. His school and behavioral pediatrician are all aware. Still, he seems to go back to it. The biggest problem is helping my son understand why something unhealthy to him makes him feel good. He knows that he is still loved and accepted as a young person and is entitled to have these feelings. My hope is that role modeling and teaching him about loving relationships over the desire and need for porn will have a positive impact. Pornography is not new, but having access to pornography with the click of a button is a new phenomenon. Our kids are exposed to pornography very early on in many innocent ways by clicking on social media apps such as Snapchat or Instagram, Facebook, even YouTube. They can be very easily exposed to very explicit and pornographic material. Even searching the internet through Google can lead them to accessing various content that they otherwise wouldn't have access to. So what does this mean for kids today? And what impact are these images having on them and how they view themselves, how they view sexual relationships, and ultimately, what impact are these images having on their views of what a healthy relationship looks like? Pornography is being deemed as the public health crisis of the digital age. Back in the day, the tobacco industry would say that there was no direct correlation between smoking and lung cancer. Today, we simply know that this is not the case. Currently, the porn industry is saying that there is no direct correlation between pornography and unhealthy relationships. This we also know to not be the case. We know that there is a direct correlation between the kind of content that youth are accessing online when it comes to pornographic images and the way that they view themselves, the way that they view one another, and the way that they view the relationships that they engage in with each other. Pornography impacts boys and girls differently. Boys will typically access content online and base their expectations of whoever they're with on what they see and the images that are portrayed. Girls will typically access the same content and use those images as an expectations for themselves in terms of how they should perform in a relationship and the kinds of acts that they should engage in. Oftentimes, girls feel pressure to perform in a certain way in order to gain acceptance and to be liked by the individual who they're with, when in fact, this leads to a number of issues thereafter in terms of guilt and shame and unrealistic expectations going forward in that relationship. What are researchers reporting? About 1/3 of young people say they have seen pornography for the first time at age 12 or younger. 39% of 14-year-olds report having seen porn. Males aged 11 to 16 report that online porn gave them ideas about the type of sex they wanted to try. Increased use of online porn can decrease boys' academic performance after a 6-month period. 75% of 18-year-old women say pornography has led to pressure on girls and young women to act a certain way. Young females who consume pornographic videos are at a significantly greater risk of becoming victims of sexual harassment or sexual assault. Pornography can create a number of social issues such as anxiety, depression, and negative self-body image. We know that this is the case when it comes to young people and the way that they view themselves and their body parts and what their body parts should look like or the body parts of the opposite sex. Accessing pornography online typically leads young people to believe that their body parts should be a certain size or perhaps look a certain way. They also have expectations of the opposite sex and expect the opposite sex to look a certain way. These expectations are oftentimes unrealistic and unhealthy and lead to many disappointments. As parents, we may feel uncomfortable talking to our children about sex. However, this is a conversation that we absolutely need to have. Whether we like it or not, our kids are most likely accessing sexually explicit material online. Once they see this material, it can never be erased. Accessing pornography early on can lead young people to engage in sexual behavior at an earlier age than they would otherwise. It can also lead to unsafe sex practices, as well as this belief known as the hookup culture, where young people believe that they should have multiple partners at the same time and be cheated on. 3 key types of intervention have been identified: legal and regulatory, education for children and youth on critical media and digital literacy, respectful relationships, sexuality and sexual health. Education and resources for teachers and parents on how to support, encourage, and role model safe, respectful relationships for children and young people, both online and IRL, in real life. It's important for us as parents to have open communication with our kids about sex and pornography. It's important to do this so that we can provide our kids with the tools to make healthy life choices. However, before we do this, it's important for us to educate ourselves first about the subject so that we know what we're talking about. As a parent, you can help your children develop a critical eye when viewing media and social media. Guide your children as they make responsible choices about limiting or eliminating exposure to questionable or harmful online content. Have proactive discussions that help your children make wise choices about posting. Speak with your children about a wide variety of dangers, from fires to bullying to road rage to drugs to hypersexualized media to pornography. By working closely with schools and various community partners, Youth Diversion is here to support you and your child in minimizing the impact that pornography might have on their life. We have trained social workers on hand who have worked with a number of families who have experienced the same issue and are here to support you. Thank you for participating in Youth Diversion's webinar on pornography and its impact on children and teens. I encourage you to look through our website for additional information and to contact our office for additional support services.